Would you please tell us about light, the nature of light, its purpose and meaning?
It simply depends how you mean that term. Now, in a very, perhaps you can say, ultimate sense, the energy of creation can be seen or understood to express itself as a white light. Much of this is arbitrary, however, because light is a far broader form of energy than what you call simply your visible spectrum of light. Your visible spectrum of light is simply one slice from, perhaps you can say, the overall bandwidth, if you will, of light of infinite creation. The light that we sometimes refer to as the light of all that is, or the light of God, does have a physical bandwidth, but extends beyond that physical bandwidth in both directions, reaching its fingers, perhaps you can say, to whatever degree this will make sense in translation, into non-physical reality, into infinite reality. So light would also seem to exist, so to speak, as a pervasive element in the infinite as well as the finite. What you generally refer to as white light, which would seem to be the combination of all the different types of light to you, is again a very fine bandwidth, a very fine perceptive sense on your end to be able to interpret that bandwidth in a particular way. Does this help?
Yes. Do you and Estasani have visible to you more than the spectrum of light than we do, and if so, do you see different colors?
To some degree, yes, though this would not translate into your language, for you do not have, in that sense, vocabulary for it. Perhaps you can understand that our sensitivities are a little bit above, a little bit below what you call the visible spectrum of light from your perspective, although if we were interacting with you, the adjustments that we would make would have us seeing similar things.
Our scientists, we believe that light is of a dual nature.
It is far more than that, but it can be perceived in either one of those states when you, in that sense, attach to it the variable you call time.
We think of it as both particles, but also in a wave form.
Both of these only making sense in linear reality, yes. You are describing what you would perhaps call an infinite idea and finding different...
I think of light as transmitting, you said energy, maybe also information.
It need not necessarily be perceived as being transmitting. In the infinite sense, there is no transmitter and receiver, for these are linear ideas. It is simply infinite, multidimensional, and eternal, as are you all.
We enter spirit form, non-physical.
When you shift your perspective to no longer seem to express yourself through a physical body. Yes, proceed.
The words right out of my mouth.
Oh, thank you. Perhaps you will assist the channel in washing his hands when you are through. You have a fascinating language.
We become a spark of light, if you will.
You will perceive yourself in ways that are similar to the way you perceive yourself right now because of your close association with this type of pinpoint consciousness. There are versions of yourself where you can seem in that sense to experience yourself as, perhaps you would say, a spark. But a spark implies a very small pinpoint of light, and size has no meaning at that point. So it would appear, from your perspective, to be an infinite spark.
I've heard somebody, whether it was Bashar or you, where somebody described that they could see with their eyes open, let's say, little sparks of light in their vision, and somehow the idea was, oh, well, those are entities. Does that sound familiar?
That is one way to look at it. I understand what you are saying. And this can have a multitudinous number of causes.
We believe that the speed of light is always constant throughout the universe. If you agree with that, is that important that it is that way?
I do not necessarily agree with that, though in what you would call your neighborhood, it would apply for now.
Where it serves as a reference to our scientists, but is there any other purpose?
Do understand that some of the characteristics that you are speaking about only become true when you label them in that way. And then when you change your perception so do the so-called laws also seem to change because you are now focusing on different aspects of the same reality.
You got one more aspect of this thing.
All right.
Does anything else travel at the speed of light? Does electricity?
It depends how you mean. If you were to transmit electricity through what you call space, yes. When you, in that sense, introduce what you call a resistor, which can be even a wire or cable, no.
You often tell us that you tell us what we're able to handle at any given time. Is there anything more about light you want to tell us right now?
You're full of it. And perhaps but several days ago you wouldn't have been able to handle it.
I take that as a compliment in our language.
All right, if you insist. I meant it that way as well.
Thank you very much.
Oh, I've done nothing. Thank yourself.